Alright folks, we need to talk. And it's about toilets. Yes, the porcelain palace, the throne, the loo. But today we're not talking about any ordinary toilet. We're talking about the OGO composting toilet, where number 2s turn into future soil. The OGO promises to do the dirty work for you so you don't have to. So let's dive right in. First up, look at the size of the thing. It's compact, sleek, and looks like it's out of some futuristic design catalogue. It's designed to fit into any caravan, van, or RV with ease. Now let's talk business, literally. The OGO is a separating toilet which separates the solids from the liquids. And this is what keeps the smells from slapping you in the face every time you open the toilet. And this is a lifesaver in any small, tiny space. No one wants to live in a caravan where it smells like, well, you know, you get the idea. Now the liquids go into this container right here, which is easily removed. And guess what? It even has a sensor on the side to tell you when you've had too much coffee. And now for the fun part, the solids. You mix those with cocoa coir or peat moss to help break it down. Now most composting toilets have a handle so that you have to crank it like you're churning butter every time you contribute to the toilet. But the OGO, it has an automatic mixing system. You just press the button and boom, your business is mixed. No sweat. Now talking of things running smoothly, let's talk about the cocoa coir. Or in New Zealand, you can use sphagnum moss. If you're using cocoa coir, you use about half a brick, hydrate it, fluff it up, pop it into the composting bucket, and it can last for weeks before needing to be replaced. So you're not out constantly buying more while you're on the road. This stuff is super cheap and easy to store, and a little bit goes a long way. And if you run out, it's really easy to purchase from your local hardware store or a gardening centre. And it's also eco-friendly, which is a win for both you and the planet. Yay, the planet. And after a push of a button, it's like magic, but the kind of magic that you don't want to be involved in. I mean, let's be real, none of us wanted to be professional stirrers, right? Now when it comes to emptying the solids, the bagged solids can go straight into a regular rubbish bin. Because it is partially composted whilst it's been mixed with the cocoa coir, it is perfectly safe to be disposed of in your regular rubbish bin.
So, you've got your OGO composting toilet. You're probably wondering, how hard is it to install? Well, it's not rocket science, because otherwise I wouldn't be attempting it. Let's walk through it step by step. First things first, placement. You want to find a flat surface to mount your OGO. Ideally, easy to access and out of the way. You don't want your throne to be the centerpiece of your living room, unless that's the sort of aesthetic that you're going after. Step 1, measure the space. The OGO is compact, but you want to make sure that it has enough room to open and close properly. Next up, securing the OGO in place. Comes with everything you need, which is 4 screws, and it just screws to the floor to stop it from sliding around when you're driving, or when things get a little bit too intense. You just need something to screw these screws to the floor, and boom, you're not going anywhere. One of the key parts of the OGO is this handy little ventilation system. It vents the odours to the outside, because no one really wants those smells inside the van. You just need to run the hose through a small hole through the floor to the outside. And don't forget, the OGO needs a little bit of power to run the fan and the mixer, but it's low voltage, so you can hook it up to the van's electrical system. It's barely a blip, and remember, it's really only when it's mixing. And believe me, you want the mixing. Feed the ventilation hose through, hook it up to the fan, and make sure it's securely sealed to prevent any air from sneaking back in. The fan runs on a low amount of power, about 1.8 amps. So think of it as a very polite house guest that quietly handles your odour without bothering anyone. And there you go. Toilet installed, ventilation hooked up, power hooked up, all ready for action.
Now, before we get too far into composting life, let's talk about the other options in the toilet world. The chemical or cassette toilet. You know, those little blue liquid-filled suitcases that we practically have to drag to the camp dump site. So what's the big difference between the cassette and the composting toilet, you may ask? First up, composting toilets like the OGO let nature break down your waste into compost. It's eco-friendly, it doesn't smell if you manage it right, and there's no nasty blue chemicals. It literally turns your leavings into soil over time. You can't grow tomatoes in it right away, but you are headed in the right direction. Chemical toilets, on the other hand, rely on, well, you guessed it, chemicals. It uses that lovely blue liquid to help break down the waste, although it does feel like it's really just marinating in there. And when it's full, you have to dispose of it at a special dump site, which means dragging the suitcase or driving it to a place that accepts this waste, and let's just hope you don't hit a bump on the way. Meanwhile, the composting toilet, you just have to occasionally empty the liquids container, but the solids only has to be emptied every couple of weeks, and there's no dealing with that mystery blue goop. Here's a quick comparison of the two. Composting toilet, nature takes care of the breakdown. It's environmentally friendly, less frequent maintenance, and no harsh chemicals. The chemical or cassette toilet is portable and sometimes a lot cheaper up front. It is chemical laden and needs regular disposal. Kind of like carrying around a time bomb and you hope that it never leaks. So unless you're leaning towards the chemical dump station life, I'm leaning towards the composting toilet, especially with the OGO, with its automatic mixing and compact design. Now, is the OGO worth it? Sure, it's a little pricier than other composting toilets, but if you're serious about off-grid living or van life or tiny homes, then it's totally worth it. And you're paying for the automatic mixing, and to me, that's priceless.
So if you're looking for a toilet that's smarter than it looks and takes the stink out of off-grid living, then the OGO is the way to go. Leave us your questions in the comments below because we are all in this together. And make sure that you subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with our videos because we have some more in the pipeline.
And hopefully our next one is not from the toilet.